There's HaShulchan Yeridea, Simon Yurches, Sif Yutes Zayin 2 Yurches. This is day 84 of the Supplemental HaShulchan Yomi series. Tezayin, B'dat, you should know. Shabbos Manenu, in our day and age. People don't know almost at all how to check on flesh. We only check on nails. We want to check with the finger, the flesh of the finger. It's very, very difficult to feel a light nick. Can I do a fine nick? Can I do a l'rov shoktes manenu, as is known to most of the shoktim of our day and age? Perish Rashi, Tafyud Zayin, Muvur da Abasa Yosef Nochal Agish Margashas Tziporin. Seems that on the flesh it's much easier to feel than it is on the nail. I say, Hefach Mamish, but that's the exact opposite. Shatziporin Umagishim became a daka min adaka. On the nail we feel the slightest nick. Valbasa Argosh Arukh, and on the flesh the sensation is very difficult. Yeah, Tam. Shulchan says, what's the reason? The Bizman Shas, Lo Yasakimu Tashmar knives were not were very finely honed. And the edge was not so fine, and sharp, as our knives are. If we can feel it with the flesh, as opposed to today, that the edge is very fine, and very sharp. Before you feel the nick, you're going to cut your flesh. So therefore it's hard to have a sensation. When checking with our nail, we feel even if it's not properly, we can feel even if it's not properly smooth. Yes, in there, more that's by checking by light of sun, we see even today, if you put the edge upwards, look at it. So if it's not completely equal from beginning to end, whether it's a sharpness, or a smoothness, we can see on the edge signs of whiteness. As is known for Shoktim Martin H. So evidently our blades are different, and therefore the parameters are different than they once were, which of course makes sense. I was wondering how could they check on the flesh and not get cut, and the answer is their blades were dull in the old days before steel, fine steel. So therefore, they could feel it and not get cut. Dull knives will also cut, but our knives are much sharper, and they will cut immediately. So as he says, believe people cloud. Our checking is appropriate without any aspersions whatsoever. In our youth, we heard, it was very personal in this section of Arukh HaShulchan, that, and also we saw in books, that 2 generations before us, there was a big machlekes, and I believe the machlekes was between the Baal Shem Tov, the Hasidim, and the Misnagdim. And the Baal Shem Tov is known to have introduced the notion of sharpening the shechita knife on both sides, not just on one side. And the Baron Karlin brings down, I bring this down my Sefer Erevin, that the Baal Shem Tov said he came down to be masakin in halacha 3 things, as the letters of Zam, Chaviki Kimat Rega Yavor Zam. Zam in Rosh Tevas is Zabicha, Shchita, Erevin, making Erevin in towns and cities, and Mem Mikvos, making warm mikvos. So people would go to the mikveh and wouldn't be put off by the intense cold. So so this idea of Zvicha, I think, is what underlies what he's saying here. These, which I think were the Hasidim, would make the edge of the knife fine and very, very sharp. These would make it a little bit thicker. And very smooth. But wasn't very sharp. And the two sides entrench their position. That is the primary thing to check for. One check for sharpness, and the other check for smoothness. The people who separate themselves from eating meat shechted according to the method of the opposing side. But according to the letter of the law, ain leave soul. You don't reject either the way these people set their knives or these people set their knives. The Shnei Divrei Elokim Chaim Hema, and they're both Divrei Elokim Chaim Elu. Kasher Tzvei Pi Moshe Rabbeinu V'Shem Pi Gvura, as you to direct Moshe Rabbeinu from Hakadosh Baruch Hu, that there should be multiple ways of approaching this. But today there is no difference between countries. Obviously, because of the improved technology and blades. All the shochem in all the countries, they set their knives essentially the same in the smoothness, in the sharpness, and in the smoothness. Yudches. Medina the Gemara, according to the strict letter of the law of the Gemara, every shochet has to show his knife to the sage of the city. Before each every shchita, and they link this to a pasuk there in Chulin Daf Yudzayin Yudches. The Chemir Zarabei, and they were very stringent about this. Chazal said, "Shim Lora Sakin Chacham." If you didn't show your knife to the sage, even though you found after that the knife was appropriate, you put him in cherem. In brackets, he says here, obviously censorship in ancient days. If you found that the knife was not appropriate, so we also remove him from his position. He should no longer be a sheikh. If it found that the knife was appropriate, the chacham can forgo his honor. On the custom, two of HaShulchan see if you Yud but two Shulchan write that even no chacham uniformly forgo their honor. Some because they themselves appoint people who are known to be trustworthy of years Hashem and known to be God-fearing. Hashchitu are in charge of the shchita, v'abedika, in charge of the slaughtering and the checking. And they were meichel to these appointees. Because they are very careful and very diligent. They're appointed based on the sage of the city. So, therefore, if a sheikh was not appointed by the Rav of the city, even as a sheikh in another city, also the sheikh b'toch ha'ir v'siul says now the sheikh in this city and its environs, without the intent of the or the license of the chacham of the city, from the city. Chacham of the city, Chacham from the city. He shechts without his license. Asurim lechom mishchitos, and now has the shech for eat from the shchita. That's why he testifies upon himself. Elokim, that's not God fearing, because he didn't get the license from the rabbi. Is not concerned about the shchita. It's not just the stringency. This is according to the strict level law. The Gemara says according to the law of the Gemara, you have to show the Chacham the knife for each every shchita. Just to forego this honor. The palm rishon, so automatically it means that the first time when you come to shecht in the city of the chacham and its environs, that one time is not mochel covered. Is not allowed to be mochel. You can't forego this honor. So shchita should not be up for grabs. Therefore, according to strict law, and Sheikhet who the Chacham does not want him to shecht in that vicinity. Shchitas asur medina shchitas also according to the letter of the law. And this is a big issue in many places in Europe in the old days. The Chacham has the right to remove a Sheikhet if he sees that he's not conducted properly. Previously in the city, she's might be a Chacham, and he was appointed by a Chacham previously. The Kavachon goes without saying the Shochet has not yet been appointed in this place. And Rav the Masa, it shows without the authorization of the rabbi of the city. Shishchitaso asura, that shchita is also for onesh, and that shchita is suitable to be punished. Anybody who supports such a shochet Rav the Masa against the will of the rabbi of the city, is eventually going to have to give reckoning in heaven. Keilu echlim treifos is that the people of the city are eating treif. And their avera is very severe. Their severe, their iniquity is on their bones because they're eating the treif. Somebody listens will be blessed. And as I said, in Eastern Europe particularly, this was a tremendous issue in the old days where Rabbanim, as part of their authority, would ask for shchutei chutz. And to this day, you have in certain Hasidic communities, not really elsewhere, where shchutei chutz, things shechted from outside, which were forbidden to come into the city. And of course, shochteim would not get permission from the rabbi, were apostled, and became very often a tremendously difficult situation. Okay, without getting into any of the gory details for the moment, we'll stop here for today.